Hey everyone, Mark and Joey here. UltimateSportsChannel.com is the website, Joey, and we want to have everyone go over there, see posts on sports, way more than we can cover, and every single day, 50 posts, along with our sponsors, which we appreciate you going in and supporting. We've worked out deals for all of our sponsors that are on the website, so head over there if you can and take a look at the website. But what we're talking about right now is the podcast, and you know, our podcast is fans for fans. And Joey and I are big fans. We just finished watching one of the sports shows, and they got like so many details I can't even keep track of it all. But we're more about what fans we view the game as fans, and that's what our podcast is all about: is what are fans thinking, and maybe on some stories that you're not normally hearing in the mornings on the show. So here we go. Well, what can it be? It's got to be the Super Bowl, NFL season wrapping up. We've spent a day kind of coming down from that. It's almost like coming down from a drug, I guess, although I've never taken drugs. But from comments I've heard, it's like that. We don't know what we're going to do now going forward on the weekends because it's all been football for so long. So anyway, the NFL classic finish to what was otherwise a fairly boring game, Joey.
Yeah, I mean, it was another Super Bowl kind of with, defense taking care of most of it. I mean, you had the couple exciting Super Bowls back-to-back years with Philly beating New England coming back from Atlanta, but last 2 years have been defensive kind of games, although this may provide the greatest 8 minutes of football you might ever see. Broke 6 records for Super Bowls. So it was, lived up to some of its hype based on the endings. Like a movie that drags you along, kills it with a great ending, and then you leave going, that was a great movie, and you forget the boring parts. It's kind of like with this game. I mean, we anticipated a big one. Kansas City didn't really come out very well. San Francisco did. Got up early, but in the fourth quarter, Mahomes finally got loose. Let his arm out. I think it came down to nothing to lose type of scenario for him. All of a sudden, the nerves kind of left him for the last couple drives where it looked like all game he was pretty nervous up to that point. So it worked out in the end. This is what Kansas City does, though. They were the most explosive offense in the regular season and the postseason. They got down in every postseason game. Don't know why, but there's so much firepower in that team that they come back so quickly. They win this game. Not only win the game, they win the game by 11 points. And that's kind of the stuff they can do. So it's pretty remarkable. Great win for Andy Reid, his first of his career. Says he's going to coach for another 20 years. He said was the goal if they won a Super Bowl. And then Mahomes, obviously the star of the league, got his Super Bowl as he should. Needs the Super Bowl because we need a new star, and he is the star. We already know that before this Super Bowl. But adding a Super Bowl now, people could talk about, can he get 6? How good is this team going forward? Can they keep all the players? And really what's next for them on the positive side, for sure.
Well, Joey, I have to disagree with you 100%. It's obvious that Pete Carroll got inside Andy Reid's body somehow. I don't know how he did it, but if we go back, we love movies. Somehow he got in there. What was Kansas City doing early in the game? They start out with the most explosive offense, and what do? They run the ball and 2 screen slants off the bat, go out 3-0. Patrick Mahomes wasn't nervous. The guy was completely shut down by the offensive scheme early on. I just don't get it. I think Hill had 5 passes for like 30 yards in the first 5 passes he got. This is not what this guy does. He does what he did at the end of the game, which is run crazy fast down the field. You throw as hard as you can to the guy, and he makes touchdowns. This was a ridiculous game plan. This is what happened to them in each playoff game. They're damn lucky they have the best quarterback in the league by far, and there's just no doubt about it that he picked them up exactly what was happening. It seems like this team has to get behind before they believe who they are. It's like they want to be like Seattle, and they got a great quarterback. You run the ball, throw these little stupid passes. He air miles out the ball all the time. That's how he's been successful, and why they shut that down. Every playoff game they got behind by insurmountable lead for any other quarterback except Mahomes, who can do that. This was really no different. I don't know what the hell they were doing. This guy should throw the ball from the first play of the game to the last play of the game. You know, you were mentioning to me they did a little test on one of the sports channels where Hill started 10 yards ahead of where Mahomes took the ball, ran, and Mahomes threw it just as hard as he could, and Hill caught up the ball every single time. How hard an offense do you have when you need to do that? He went down there, and that's exactly what they should have done from the start of the game. I don't know what happened, other than Pete Carroll obviously infested Andy Reid's body. Fortunately, they were so far behind. 10.6 minutes to go. Mahomes took over the game, as he has every playoff game, and won them a Super Bowl that the coaching staff did not deserve.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far. I think Troy Aikman said that Patrick Mahomes was missing a ton of open targets. He illustrated it, he commented on it, he spoke about it. So I'll go with that because he's watching the whole entire game. He's a quarterback. He can see open receivers as he's up above. And Mahomes clearly looked by it. By the way, he was moving out of the pocket really fast. He looked like Wilson when he gets nervous. He tried to run a lot more than throw the ball because of what he did in previous games as well. So I'd say there was mistakes by the whole entire team, but it's because they were going for their first Super Bowl in 50 years as an organization. None of these guys have won a Super Bowl, including Andy Reid. And you have to get by sometimes with making some wrong calls. Patrick Mahomes got by with making some bad decisions. But because they're so talented, because they're so good, they won, and now they've done it already. You got to really watch out for them in the future to win a bunch more because now they've been there, done it. I think the defense stepped up. I think the defense didn't provide much hope for the Kansas City offense because I think part of the problem was they realized how long San Francisco was taking off the clock, and they were trying to probably make long drives of their own, and that didn't work. You got to make it quick and live with the fact that your defense will be right out there in a matter of 2-3 minutes, and they have to man up in that situation.
Yeah.
But I think that was definitely part of the problem. They were worried. I mean, San Francisco did exactly what I said they had to do, which was take 8-minute drives. They limited Kansas City even touching the ball, not only scoring but touching the ball only twice in the first half. It felt like. And, only a couple times before the fourth quarter where they...
Well, certainly only a couple times in each quarter.
Yeah, probably 2 in each quarter was more realistic. So,
But Joey, part of that problem was KC wasn't doing their 2-minute drives. They were also trying to take time out of the
I think
clock.
it got in their head.
Ridiculous.
I know, and I think that's what got in their head. I think they were trying to say, you can't keep having 2-minute drives. Your defense they came off an 8-minute drive. I think they got a little confused. Anyways, when it came down to it, this is what they do. They let loose. They have the best quarterback. They have a great offensive-minded coach. They have the great receiver and a great tight end. Travis Kelce actually doesn't get enough credit. He was probably as good, if not better, than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had the big pass, but Travis Kelce in the trenches in the red zone is an absolute juggernaut. So shout out to him. I think he's the best tight end in the game right now. Really taking over what Gronk left behind was the blocking tight end who could also catch and run. So he was phenomenal. So this whole team came together and won as they should. They were the most talented team out there. They had the most talented players out there. And arguably only because of some nerves and some coaching mistakes and getting caught up in the moment, they were behind going in that fourth quarter. Otherwise, they should have won this game a lot easier. But they won by 11. Yeah. And you can't ask for much more.
And I won my bet. I called them by 14, but for safety's sake, bet them at 10 and over. So I was happy about that last touchdown, the running one. I never thought I was going to get to it. But, even with Aikman, I disagree. They weren't running their receivers out past 15 yards, which is not where Mahomes operates. He operates long down the field. That's his game. They stopped him from doing that. I think that caused all the problem. When they got behind like they had in the first 2 playoff games, he had to let loose. When he did, he's superior. He can put points on the board so fast the other team doesn't know what's going on, and that's exactly what happened in this particular game. It's kind of funny that you can be the MVP and play 6 minutes of football.
Yeah, but
they had no one else to pick.
You know what? That whole team only played 6 minutes of football. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, even the defense, like I said, gave up a touchdown, field goal, a couple stops, but then another touchdown, another field goal. So you could have picked someone from there, but they weren't great either. So it was funny. It was a weird Super Bowl. I mean, you had one team that took so much time off the clock on every drive. I mean, I remember even starting second half, they took an 8-minute drive. Like, it's truly remarkable. They almost got away with it. That's what they had to do in order to win.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the fourth quarter, they couldn't pull one of those drives together. Otherwise, they would have won because there would have been no time for Kansas City. But great Super Bowl, great win, great for the city. Kansas City is going nuts right now. Their first one in 50 years. So congratulations to them. Long droughts being broken all over sports. And now they also have a team where I'm sure all the fans realize this team can win 6 like Brady and Belichick. So, we'll see this going forward, but great win for them. The superstar of the game right now is Mahomes. And for him to get a Super Bowl this early just helps the hype around him and the league and the team. So, a 10th most watched Super Bowl in Super Bowl history after 4 years of ratings falling off. So, people were excited for this one. Also it had to do with San Francisco being a legendary franchise who didn't get the win this time. Yeah,
and there was a lot going on the San Francisco side, 3-13 to a division-leading team this year into the Super Bowl. I do want to mention the funniest part about this is that you take a 3-13 team, you win your division, you go to the Super Bowl, and what do they now talk about? Kyle Shanahan isn't a very good coach.
I know. He blew the lead.
In the Super Bowl with Atlanta, he was the offensive coach and passed the ball instead of running where people thought he should have. He comes in here, takes a 3-13 team into the division final, into the Super Bowl, and he got nothing but criticism after the game about, what he should have done, what he could have done.
Garoppolo. Garoppolo didn't even play last year.
Yeah.
He only played 4 games.
First full season.
And he played the first full season. And he goes 13-3 regardless of what you think, and went to a Super Bowl.
And we're watching
and a 2010 lead, which you should blame the defense.
And we're watching the news this morning, and they're talking about Garoppolo's contract is not guaranteed after April 1st, and San Francisco might move him, that Tom Brady might go there. It's astounding, man. You get to the biggest game. You're better off sometimes to lose in the middle of playoffs where they almost don't care. But you get there, and they're taking huge grief over losing this particular game. And as you said, they staked their defense to a 10-point lead. This should not have happened. They allowed wide open receivers. But I got to tell you, Mahomes' pass, I'm going to forget number 14's name. Watkins right over Richard Sherman. I appreciated Sherman when he played in Seattle for us. He's got a massive ego, and when you have a massive ego, you can't afford to let that play. He put such a sick move on him and then was down there. But the pass was Mahomes. The way he floated it between defenders was amazing. Over Sherman's head, before the defender that was coming up. What a pass that was. Set up the second touchdown. And just a fantastic pass by this kid. He's just incredible. And then capped off by that nice run, which made my bet good. So there was the Super Bowl. You couldn't be happier.
Well, I want to talk about the losing team a little bit more because you skim by them. They actually have the most drama out of any of this whole entire game. We got to talk about the winning team. Well, the winning team's happy. They got their quarterback. The most drama is coming out of San Francisco right now, and it involves possibly the greatest quarterback of all time, which is Tom Brady. I don't know if people know this. Tom Brady's team growing up was the 49ers. That's where he's from, is in California there. And the 49ers are his team. The reason why this contract's coming up is because you said it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get rid of him, but they can rework his contract because now they can say we don't believe it was.
Well, you only throw 8 passes in one playoff game, and then he was 3 for 12 in the fourth quarter.
But I think it'd be a huge mistake not to bring Garoppolo back. I do think that he played some great games in the regular season. I think people get jaded by the fact a guy does what he has to do in order to win. And he didn't have to throw the ball those games, so he didn't. Now, an egotistical quarterback, which never works out with a team, would have gone and said, I should have thrown the ball more. No, he moves on and says, I'm happy to be in the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl, quite frankly, you said it, so don't deny it. He outplayed Mahomes for 3.5 quarters. And arguably in the fourth quarter, they tried to run the ball, which Kyle Shanahan didn't do in Atlanta, and they couldn't run the ball for first downs. And then when he had to throw the ball, Kansas City knew how to play defense because they knew they had to throw the ball. They couldn't run the ball because of time on the clock. And then it looked bad on him that he wasn't there. So I quickly want to say the most drama of this whole game is the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan, unfortunately, looks like he has kind of blown 2 Super Bowls. But I'd still like to say every coach should have a defense that can hold a 20-3 lead and a 20-10 lead. And Kyle Shanahan is going to tell you, I built the defense here. Most of his resources is in the defense. 20-10, you shouldn't have the offense need to score any more points with 10 minutes to go. So I don't blame Shanahan. I don't blame Garoppolo. They should both come back. Everybody move on. Now, if Brady, though, does say he'll come, you know it's only for 2 years. That's a question for Garoppolo and what he wants to do. I would take Brady, though. Right now, I don't think Brady's coming. I think he's staying in New England. But anyways, that's the drama going on there. And real quick, I want to say, you said, being too good too fast is sometimes a curse. You're right, because look at the Seahawks with Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll. No talk of them being fired, or they were.
We do, but no one else does.
Yeah, we can't even get to the Super Bowl. But the team that gets to the Super Bowl has the most drama of any team in the league right now. And they're talking about new quarterback.
Well, I guess part of it is it's a massive disappointment when you lose the Super Bowl. I mean,
2010.
This will all go away, but it's massive when you lose a Super Bowl compared to losing in the middle of playoffs. You can easily say we weren't good enough. We didn't get that. Fine, but this is a massive loss. It's going to be dropped. First of all, Kyle Shanahan has been in the Super Bowl twice. Once as a head coach, once as an offensive coordinator. He's a young guy, and it's amazing he's been there already. As he gets better,
he's only like 38 years old.
When he gets better, and can maybe overcome these big events. There's no doubt he's a great coach. He'll be there forever. I cannot see them moving him. It would be absolutely crazy to move a young guy.
Real quick, John Lynch was a commentator and comes in as the GM and gets them to the Super Bowl 2 years as well. So they've come in together, so I think he'll be there forever too. I think the real question is more about Jimmy Garoppolo because people look at the numbers. But
let's look at his record. I say this all the time, don't I? Like Tannehill, the same thing. It's about winning. It isn't about having stats. Go ask Drew Brees in New Orleans. Go ask Rodgers. Go ask Rivers. Go and ask whether stats or wins are more important in a career. These guys don't have a Super Bowl. Garoppolo's won. I'm going to forget the record because you got to remember he was injured in the 3-13 season. He He was like 3-2 when he
So
got
he
injured.
was 2-3 when he got injured. He was 5-0 the year before that, and 4-0 with New England, and 13-3 this year. Guys, he's a winner. He's like Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater better because he's a winner too.
And Tannehill, they need their chance.
Yeah, and Tannehill, and like you said, winners can win, and it's because they do what's best for the team. The stat guys, unfortunately, it's not always best for the team. You can't throw the ball 50 times a game and win. We've seen it be proven. It can't only be you because then defenses will focus on you when they come to a playoff game. You have to have a multifaceted team, and Garoppolo's one of those guys that will do whatever it takes for the team. I think the biggest thing is restructuring the contract. I think they'll do that. Like I said, I don't think Tom Brady's actually ever going to leave New England. I think he's going back. But anyways, if he did, that'd be the only way I'd get rid of Garoppolo is if Brady would come in for 2 years. But I'd still try to keep him. I think you restructure his contract. You say, hey, respectfully, we got to pay the guys on your team because they're all under rookie deals. This is one of the youngest teams in the NFL. People don't understand that. And it's like Mahomes in Kansas City. He's on a rookie deal right now, too. Contracts play a problem, and they're going to have to figure out how to keep all these guys in San Francisco. And tell you what, on Kansas City, you're going to have to figure out how to pay Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Mahomes because it's going to be tough to do. And then whatever defensive players you want to keep around. So, contracts. We've seen it ruin teams. It'll be interesting what both these quarterbacks end up doing in the offseason because Mahomes is apparently in for one of the biggest contracts ever as far as guaranteed money and money overall, which would, I think, hurt the franchise. And Garoppolo, we'll see what happens. If he gets tough on his contract, he might be out because I'm sure Kyle Shanahan believes there's at least replacements. I don't think they need to replace him, but we'll see what happens.
Well, you know what? There's not enough put into leadership. There's not enough put into your team liking you as a quarterback, having good chemistry.
Right.
Garoppolo has that. You hear no complaints about him from his fellow teammates. You got to look for that too. You don't have to have every skill in the world. You need to lead teams. You need to win, and that's what he's been able to do so far. He does have a big contract, but it's not out of the world when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, it's similar to every other contract out there. He would get the money from some other team. Certainly during the season, he showed flashes of being great when he had to throw.
Yeah.
He showed flashes of being great. So I don't think they've got anything there. However, I think you just went on about contracts and all that kind of stuff. I don't think dynasties are even possible anymore. Even New England, if Tom Brady didn't take massive salary cuts to put the right guys in the field with him, New England would not have done what they have done.
Right.
So these teams are always going to have problems keeping all these players, caps, and all those kinds of things. So it's hard to say that we'll see a dynasty anywhere because we never know who might be moved out of a team suddenly because they just can't afford to keep them. So we'll see what happens there. But I agree with you. San Francisco, great season. They need to focus on that. They came from 3-13 to the Super Bowl. How can you be unhappy? It's unbelievable the conversation's even happening. But I do want to say, from what you're talking about here, we transition a little bit to the quarterback side. It's been lost on a lot of guys about winning. Like we say, Tannehill, Bridgewater, these kinds of guys, the kind of vaulted quarterbacks have never really won. I mean, Rivers has no Super Bowls. I'm losing my brain now.
Breeze, Rodgers, they all
Breeze
won.
got one,
Wilson
Rodgers got one, Wilson's got one. So there's nobody that's been paid all this huge amount of money that have won and been big winners.
Arguably ruined Andrew Luck's career because he took so much money, the offensive line couldn't get paid.
Yeah.
And then he got hit so often, he's now injured and out. You look at Wilson, took all that money. Earlier, he had to restructure his contract. This year, took money again. And, you can't pay players. You just see everywhere you go that guys have to restructure their contracts because they realize they can't take all this money and have a good enough team in order to win. And unfortunately, I'm worried about Mahomes getting stuck in that. I hope someone gets to him and says, well, what's important to you? Is it the 6 Super Bowls? Because you're right, Brady, respectfully, even though he got a ton of money to regular folks, took a pay cut based on other quarterbacks, was never the highest paid quarterback. Yeah. So that's the situation we're in right now. And you guys superstars, and unfortunately for Mahomes, receivers and tight ends want the money more because their career's less. And arguably they're going to get hit more and they're probably going to be injured more. So they want the money over you. They will unlikely take a pay cut because of that.
Well, and running backs now are demanding huge money.
Well, they don't have
their livelihood in football is shorter. They're injured as well all the time.
I don't see.
They only go 8-9 years most running backs.
I don't see them paying a running back though big money. I mean, the running back they got right now isn't worth big money. He's worth I'd keep him around, but I don't think they're ever going to get stuck with a running back for big money because they know that's not their weapons. I'm just saying, if I'm Tyreek Hill, I'm Travis Kelce, I'm going to Mahomes, but we love you, but we need our money more than you because we don't know how long our careers are, and we're out there taking blows every day. respectfully, the quarterback can take $15 million. That's way below the average pay. That's still a lot. That's more than what Kelsey and Tyreek would make, even if they're like the highest receiver or tight end to get paid. Yeah. So they can all take around that money. I'm sure you can live off it, but Mahomes gonna have to ask himself, do I want to be Tom Brady and possibly the greatest of all time, or Joe Montana, whoever you consider the greatest of all time, or do I want the money? And I just hope he makes the right decision, because I think they have a dynasty here. You're not going to go broke on $15 million a year.
It doesn't matter. They all want the money. The money's significant.
He does seem more humble, though, because his dad played professional ball. I don't think it's the same situation as, respectfully, most of these guys that come from nothing. They now want to be known as the highest paid quarterback in the league. He doesn't necessarily come from nothing. He comes from a father that played pro ball, played baseball, worked contracts, had some money growing up. So I think it's a little different only from that scenario. He knows he's the best. And if he doesn't know he's the best, he's stupid, because everyone tells him he's the best.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's the MVP. He won the Super Bowl. I don't think he needs the validation of someone like Russell Wilson in Seattle, who says his first Super Bowl is only because of defense. He doesn't need the validation of some of these other quarterbacks that just have it for ego. I think he might make the smart decision here.
Well, we'll see what happens there. Most quarterbacks have not made the smart decision other than Tom Brady. We'll see what happens with Mahomes. I agree with you when you're talking about all his personality traits. Seems like the perfect kind of guy to run a franchise and win a lot of Super Bowls. We'll see what happens. There's nobody that can compare to the Kansas City team. If they can keep it together, multiple Super Bowls is certainly in their future. Nobody comes back like they do. Matter of fact, in all 3 games, you probably would have bet them to not come back. They did in all 3 playoff games. And from big scores, double digits in every single game they came back. And not only beat the team, but crushed the team, in the second half.
The spread,
it's just absolutely amazing. So if they can keep it together, this is a team that could win and I think this is what you're going to see out of Andy Reid. It's taken 20 some odd years to win his first. I think he will hang around till he see whether this team is going to, stay together or dismantle. What will happen? For sure, he's back next year. We'll see what happens there to win another Super Bowl.
And quick look at next year. It could be affected by Tom Brady, because their division is the LA Chargers, who are no good anymore, the Denver Broncos, who can't compete with them.
Yeah.
But the other team is the Oakland Raiders, and that could be the biggest change in their division. Is if I'm Kansas City right now, I'm praying he goes back to New England. Even though New England can cause problems for you come AFC Championship time, if he goes to the Raiders, you got to play him twice a year, and then he could maybe take the division from you. It's an interesting conversation. I'm sure they hope he doesn't go to the Raiders. I think the Raiders are a good team. Could be made great with someone like Tom Brady. So, an interesting story to follow. That's a big play this offseason. If Brady does go there, could have a decent effect on Kansas City. But I think as sports fans, we'd rather see Tom Brady go to New England. And I'd love to see a couple runs of New England versus Kansas City in the finals. I think it'd be a great omen to the greatest of all time, the next coming, as they did last year in the AFC Championship game. It was like 45-40. So lots of fun like that. But next year could be interesting with where Brady ends up. He could make a huge mark in that division, because the other team is the Chargers. They think he can go there too. So both are in Patrick Mahomes' division. It makes a couple games a little bit tougher anyway.
Well, I think that if Brady does leave New England, which right now it looks like he's not going to leave New England, especially since Josh McDaniel didn't get a head coaching job, I think he's going to stay there. Belichick might be on a 1-year contract where Josh try and win the Super Bowl one more time, then McDaniels takes over, whatever it may be. New England has nobody to follow up Tom Brady with. That's the problem that they've gotten themselves into. They're not low enough to get a good draft pick quarterback. So what are they going to do without Tom Brady? Pretty much dismantles his team. You start a rebuilding program. Belichick will be gone as well. Buffalo will be the champions of that division next year if Brady leaves New England. We'll see what happens there. We don't know where he'll go. Tons of opportunity for him. Tons of options that would be out there. Once he says, I'm not going to New England, it'll go crazy.
It's going to be Vegas. Vegas is going to pursue him the hardest. Vegas is the best situation for him. It's the best young team. He can get paid a ton of money. It's a new franchise and a new stadium. I'm convinced it's down to those two teams. I don't think the Chargers are a huge contestant right now. I think because the Raiders have entered it. I think it was pretty basically down to the Chargers for him. Or New England. I think that was it. But once the Raiders put their hat in the ring, you got to look at the Raiders as a much better team than the Chargers, a younger team than the Chargers.
Yeah.
He likes, I don't know if it's John or Jay Gruden, but the Gruden coach. And then you get to go play in Vegas in a brand new stadium for a brand new team. Everything in San Diego is sorry, and I mean, what I mean by that is it's a sad team. They can't get fans,
By the way, you and I both keep saying San Diego because we can't believe they were left
sorry,
there.
LA.
But, yeah.
So I think right now, I think you can basically put it down to two teams. First of all, is he going to stay or is he not going to stay? That's question one. And from what I understand, he asked for $30 million. They said they'd pay him $30 million. And now he's coming back and say, okay, well, if you go buy me receivers and offensive line, I won't take $30 million. So It's up to New England. New England, I think, still has all the cards. They've gone and talked to him. He's gotten their
Robert
attention.
Kraft said he is not leaving New England.
But Tom Brady had to get their attention. I think he didn't get the receivers he wanted this year. He didn't get the offensive line he wanted this year. So I say New England's still number one. But I think Vegas is the only one even in the competition if he doesn't re-sign with New England. But I think you can see that happening for sure. To cap it off, I want to do a quick story. The first female coach. She's also a gay coach, so she's breaking a ton of barriers. With the San Francisco 49ers, major respect to her. If you see the commercials that played during Super Bowl, she has one on there. Very, very cool. She's loved football her whole life. Obviously is very instrumental in this team. All the players talked highly of her. She's very important to the team. Assistant defensive coach with obviously one of the best defenses in the league. So very important in that role. So congratulations to her. She was there. I forget her name. I had it written down. I don't remember it, but congratulations to her. She's the first woman in the Super Bowl. Very, very cool. She was with Kyle Shanahan apparently before. He said, he just brings her along. She's a great coach. It didn't mean anything to him whether it was a man or a woman. She put in the time. She got there, and here she is in the Super Bowl working hard. So check her out. Congratulations to her. I just want to do a quick shout out to that.
Well, Joey, I think a big part of that is, as Shanahan said, I didn't think about whether she's female or male. Can she do the job?
And she put in the time.
And I think this is what, sometimes is missed on all these causes. If you can help, let's face facts, folks. Super Bowl, or NFL is about winning the Super Bowl. That's all it's about. They don't give a shit if it was a full female coaching squad. If they can make it happen, they're going to put people in place. I firmly believe that. I don't think sports is built as much as people want to put it on, equality and all these kinds of things. It's about winning. That's how they're measured in their history. That's how they get great players. That's how they get fans. It's all about winning. I don't think it matters whether you're male, female, what your color is, any of that kind of stuff. Is can you get this team to win? I think that's what we've seen. However, I will say one thing that I give Stephen A. Smith credit for on First Take is if you want to be in these positions, you need to put the time in. You need to get into college. You need to start coaching in college. Learn your craft. That's where these coaches come from that are, supposed all the time. Oh, well, there's so many of these kind of coaches. Well, guess what? They all start in college. They all put their time in. They come in as an assistant coach, maybe on an NFL team, put, years in, not 1 year and you're a coach. They put years in. So the women and also, anybody who wants to really be a coach, you've got to put the time in, get on college teams, get big numbers. This is the way you get jobs. Get big numbers of women coaching, then this is what the NFL will look for. Yeah,
and I mean, you hear it all the time. They start out as a quarterbacks coach, then they go to, assistant coach, then they get offensive coordinator, then they get, I remember one, Belichick was like a DB's coach, then he was just a defensive line coach, then he was the defensive coordinator, then he became a head coach. Even the greatest of all time had to get 3 other little jobs, but you hear it all the time. It was once a quarterbacks coach, once a special teams coach, then the O-line coach, then the whatever.
And then a bad head coach in Cleveland.
And then
you gotta keep working at it.
There's so many roles on an NFL squad that I'm sure if you're in your 30s right now, you want to be an NFL head coach, you got experience, play football, whatever, they give you one of the smaller roles, and if you get there, you'll move up. Every guy has, because everyone wants a possibility of you might being a great coach, and then
coaches move
other
on.
teams. And then other teams look at it.
Year, right?
You're a quarterbacks coach, and your quarterbacks perform well. Guess what? Some teams are gonna go. Maybe you can run the offense. Put him in the offensive coordinator spot. Then you have a good offense that year with that team. Some other teams are gonna go. Maybe you can be the head coach. Let's make him that. It's a revolving door in sports, but it's about putting the time in. Stephen A. Smith has always been the greatest about that. About putting the time in. You can't just come out and get a head coaching job. So, it's the same thing with this female coach in the Super Bowl. She puts the time in, guys. She's a assistant defensive coach, and she's worked hard to be there. And congratulations to her and any coach, really, who's out there right now. You all have to work hard to get there. We realize that. Some are a little bit sooner now with McVay, the coach in Arizona, Cliff Kingsbury, and Kyle Shanahan. They're a little bit younger head coaches now. But they're just the top of their craft.
They started younger and they started
younger getting into it. They still started as offensive coordinators or quarterbacks coach. And Cliff Kingsbury was in college, as you said, and he won in college. So they still have roles that they got there. They didn't walk out and say, I want head coach job, someone gave it to him. So put the time in and look at it.
I also loved one of the players on San Francisco. They asked, because obviously it was a hot topic about her coaching. He says, I don't know. I have my head down. Someone's yelling instructions at me. She's smart enough to do that. I follow instructions. That's the way we play as players. We do what coaches tell us. Yeah. We're brought onto the team. We're told to do these things. Our coach tells us to do that. We go do it. And I don't care who it is yelling at me instructions and yelling at me for doing it well or not. It's happening. We all respect that, and we go ahead and do it. So you know what? It's not as big a deal as we might always make it sound like it is. Get out there, put the time in. Even Belichick, people forget. Belichick's 66 years old, I think now. 68 years old. You know, he didn't get a head coaching job in New England until he was in his 40s. And that's the greatest coach of all time. This doesn't happen in your 20s. You've got to put in time, right?
He would have been 48. He coached Cleveland, was horrible in Cleveland. You know, you look at Pete Carroll, people who think of Pete Carroll, well, he's only coached the Seahawks for about 15 years, and he's 70 years old.
Is he 70? Oh, my God.
70 years old, and he's only been in the NFL for 15 years. So, you know, it's a long road for these coaches. People don't recognize it's a lot of film, it's a lot of traveling, it's a lot of recruiting, a lot of scouting. You really got to love it. And, you know, we get jaded by the fact that Kyle Shanahan's only 30 and McVay's only 35 and Cliff Kingsbury. Well, it's the new age of football with new quarterbacks, so they caught a hot time. It's really the deal.
But these guys got into coaching young. That's why they are where they are right now.
They never played. They didn't play till 32 and play. They were never really in football for very long. They got coaching. So everyone has a story of multiple years coaching, just younger people going straight to coaching instead of playing than coaching. So I think that's why you're seeing younger head coaches now. But also, it's all about time.
You know what? Also, there's pedigree. The Shanahan name and coaching is fantastic.
That helps him.
Belichick's kids are probably going to get an advantage of becoming head coaches sooner because of who their father is. Right?
I mean, Kyle worked for his dad.
They're getting all that knowledge. So pedigree is part of it too. When you've had a father that was historic in the game, you're going to get chances that other people don't. And that's just a fact of life.
But he didn't just take over his dad's team. I mean, his dad made him work on his own. Had a couple of jobs. Then he had to go be the guy in Atlanta for a little while. And then he comes here. So
it all happens.
They all have stories. But
put the time in. That's what we're trying to say. Yeah. Don't expect the job. Put the time in. It'll all happen. If enough women are out there in college levels, in minor coaching roles on the NFL teams, you'll see that advance. I don't think it's really got anything to do with sexism. It's got to do with winning, and you got to prove that you're of value to move up. That's all it comes down to, as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, that's it. NFL. It's about winning. Kansas City did it. 50 years in the making.
Congratulations.
What a year in sports. Toronto Raptors, first time in history. St. Louis Blues, first time. And now San Francisco. Oh, also Washington in baseball, even though they used to be the Expos.
Yeah.
Washington wins their first. So it's a huge year in sports of teams coming that had not been winning. And congratulations to those fans. We certainly felt it here in Toronto with the Raptors winning. It was unbelievable.
Tell you what, man, sports needed it. They needed every sport needed a change. Yeah. Every sport needed a new winner. Every sport got it. Golden State went down to the Toronto Raptors. New England wasn't in it. Kansas City gets to win it, the new up-and-coming team. So every sport needed a new change, and they got it this year. Washington National, same thing. Get rid of the biggest star apparently in the league, Bryce Harper, won the MLB World Series. So congratulations to all those teams. Lastly, congratulations to Kansas City. We look forward to next year. Someone said it's only 3 months, 7 weeks, and 7 days till the season starts. And the XFL starts on Saturday, so maybe they'll get us through it. We'll see how that goes, but lots of fun this season.
What's coming up is the draft. And so we'll be all over the draft when we get close to that, but we're going to be on to more sports. Been pretty heavy NFL on the show here over the last little while, but we're now starting to move into playoffs and hockey, basketball. Trades are going to start to happen, all those kinds of things that'll make those sports more interesting as we try and figure out who's going to win the cups in those particular sports. We'll do more of that now that the NFL has finished, and we hope you enjoy the NFL coverage that we had. We'll be back